Welcome, all pregnant families, midwives or birth workers. This is Tracy Anderson Askew, your host for the Transform Your Birth podcast, changing your mind about birth one story at a time. Each week we will be exploring a birth story through the lens of what birth can teach us. I'll be digging deep into each story so you can learn what it is that can change the way a birth unfolds. We can't control birth, but we can influence it. So listen in to find out how. Enjoy. The story I'm sharing with you today left me with goosebumps from head to toe. Through preparation, birth readiness and teamwork, Emily and Josh were able to activate Mother Nature's blueprint and how she wants us to experience birth. You will find this story very inspirational and a great reminder of the benefit of birth to our preparation as parents. Enjoy.
Before we begin, a note from our sponsor. This episode has been brought to you by Transform Parenting, an organisation that provides courses, coaching and community from pregnancy through to the first 7 years of a child's life. Most of the stories you will hear through this podcast are graduates of the Transform Your Birth workshop held in Canberra. Our Transform Your Birth Today course is now available to anyone, anywhere, at any time, and includes all the wonderful wisdom of this course and live weekly catch-ups when you need it with our host, Tracy. For a little taste, please accept our pregnancy gift offer, which contains free the first few lessons and some essential wisdom for pregnancy. The link can be found in these show notes or visit transformyourbirth.com.au. And now for the episode.
Hello everyone, and with me today is lovely Emily, and I've got a dad, which I love getting dads on the podcast, and Josh, who are about 6 months postpartum with little Isla. And when they came to see me, Emily was very much geared towards, give me the drugs, why wouldn't you have them? And then things started to change. So do you want to just talk about the space you were in before we started working together, and what were some of the sort of things that you did to prepare that started to shift your perception? Do you want to start, Em?
Yeah, of course. So I think, like many people, you hear all of the horror birth stories, right? And I know so many people who have been through it and just said epidural drugs all the way. And then so I had this perception of what birth would be like as terrifying and painful. And then we were recommended to do your course by someone who spoke really differently about birth. She said it was the most beautiful thing she's ever done. And so we did your course, and it completely shifted my view on what I wanted, because I just assumed epidural was the be all and end all, and that's how I would get through it, not knowing that there's so many other things I could use to help me get through the process. And I loved birth. I would do it again in a heartbeat, hopefully.
Yeah. So I'm curious then, Em, what was it about your preparation or your learning with me that started to shift that mindset? Because one of the things I often talk about with the drugs absolutely are tools in the toolkit, but we keep them at the bottom of the bag because they come at a cost. They come at a cost to you and also to baby. And what people don't realise is there's a lot of things you can use that can be just as powerful, even more powerful without the side effects. But what was it that you learned that helped you to really make that switch in your own mind?
Yeah, I think learning how powerful that I am without it and working out how my hormones can help bring that baby through. Right. I think that I underestimated my ability a little bit and thought that that would be the easiest option when it wasn't. I started to work out that, what if I have the drugs and it doesn't actually work? Or what if it has negative effects for my baby that I don't want, and that's not the way that I want to bring them into the world. So I started to realize my power as a woman and what my body can do.
Yeah, what a great switch, because the messaging that people give you, just have the drugs, the message under the message is you're not going to be able to handle it. And correct. I always point out to people that women have been doing this long before those bloody things were ever and thank God we've got things that can support us under certain conditions, because they can actually be really appropriate. But most of the time, my belief is, and I think I see this with a lot of my women that I work with, most of the time we don't need them. Because there are other things that you can do. Josh, I'm curious about you. You came in to the Transform Your Birth training room. How were you feeling about the process, and then what started to shift in you?
I don't know. It's hard to describe. I think what I was thinking when I went in, like I think it was good because I was very open to anything. I think
Right.
in my mindset was I'm there to support Em. So if Em wanted to do a course, we go to a course. If Em wants to do all the drugs when we give birth, you can do all the drugs. But then obviously we did the course, and it flipped everything. Like I think I don't know. It really resonated with me. I think the term, what was it? Birth with love, not fear.
Yeah,
And
nice.
I left the course like I was excited. I was amped up. Like I was like, dude. It's just I think I don't know. I like to think that it benefited me more than it benefited you.
Yeah. I think it benefited us both.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But
I love that. Well, bringing partners front and center with that birthing mum and setting you up as a team is so key to helping, to unload the mother. Like, she can often feel like it's all on her, and to have a partner who's really enthusiastic like you were, but also practically geared towards being able to support her as well is pure gold. So tell us what happened on the day and how did it unfold?
Oh, it's a big one.
It is a big one. So I was over. I was about 41 weeks.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel baby moving to how I usually would.
Yeah.
And so we went into the hospital to get a bit of a check, and they were like, let's induce you right now. You can have this baby. We need to do it ASAP. And I was a bit taken back because I didn't go in expecting that. I went in expecting that, just chuck the monitor on me and be like, things are fine. You're great. Go home. See how it is. But because I was over, she wasn't moving very much. They really pushed to induce me, and we said no. So I wanted a little bit of time to sit with that. It wasn't the way that I wanted my birth to go. And so they said, go home, love each other, have sex, light some candles, have a bath.
Well, I hope you stepped up to the plate, Josh. I hope you did what you were told.
Yeah, it's a hard gig, like really hard job. But it obviously worked.
It did.
Yeah, we had
clever
candles.
boy, you brought that baby on.
Yeah, it's all me. It was all me. But we loved each other so much that night. Like, had candles and had a really nice dinner. It was beautiful. Had a bath, like really relaxed, and that night. Later.
So we went into.
Can I just come in there, because that probably seems like a really random thing. Go home and love each other, but there's something quite practical actually about that, because what triggers labour is the hormone of love, oxytocin. And we get high levels of oxytocin when we're feeling loving and connected during sex and even orgasm, if you can manage that. That in itself is what fuels the contraction. So there's something quite practical about that suggestion. And the other thing, which is interesting, if your partner is a male, semen has prostaglandins in it, which are like a ripening agent to the cervix. So Mother Nature's kind of geared you up to being quite useful, and you were very useful, Josh. Well done, you.
Good job, babe.
Can I just also, though, go back to you were suggested to induce, but your baby was showing signs of being fine. Is that right?
Yeah, so she was fine. She just wasn't moving as much as what she was, but she was totally fine. There was nothing wrong. And it was very pushed.
Yeah, right. And that's so that in itself is something worth just digging a bit deeper on. Your caregivers, if you get signs your baby's not moving as much, and it's very common, by the way, for babies to have big sleeps before birth. I think they kind of know something big is about to happen, and that's potentially what was going on with your little daughter. But they have to be propelled or compelled to manage the process. So you've said movements are down and they've suggested induction. Just because they've suggested induction doesn't mean it's the best course of action. And actually giving yourself time and space then, because women out of fear can often, I don't want anything to happen to the baby, and rightly so. But the confidence you got seeing that your baby was fine, and your ability to say, yeah, I'm not ready now. Give me a night and we'll talk about it again. I'll come in for some extra monitoring tomorrow, is a really great, safe way to mitigate that risk and get you in the best possible space if you had have ended up having an induction, to be in the best possible space after a good night's sleep, if you can sleep when you're facing an induction, at home in your own environment, rather than, sort of feel compelled by this wave of we need to do this now because the mother's tired, she's surprised, she's not in a great physiological space for labour to even go with less resistance. There's resistance there in the mother already because we've shocked her with it. So if there isn't an urgency there, being able to buy a bit of time and come in a good space is such a wiser way of managing it. So that midwife, whoever told you to go home and love each other, was very, very wise, and it happened. So tell us, what did you notice, Em, after a bit of loving?
So we came home, we had a bath, we had some candles, we had some dinner. I thought emotionally we connected a little bit better.
Massively.
And I was a bit more mentally ready. I think to some extent, and this sounds weird, I was mentally blocking it a little bit. I just don't know if I was ready yet.
Like holding it off maybe. Like you were kind of emotionally not prepared for it. And then I think, that night might have.
Yeah, let it go.
Yeah.
And then, we went into labour and my mucus plug came out, which I didn't know what that was. I was like,
what is this?
What is this?
I don't know.
And so I don't think we realised we were in labour for
a long time.
Yeah.
Because like she won't say, but Em's wildly tough. Like not just pregnancy, but in life she's very tough.
Yeah.
So she's I'm uncomfortable, like I'm sore, my back's sore, these kind of things. Little did we know she's probably 2-3 centimeters, you know what I mean? Like
because we then I laboured through the night, and the most comfortable place for me was in the shower. So I sat on the floor and I had the warm water running down my back, and that was like a calming space for me.
For hours.
Yeah.
Like maybe I would say 90% of the time. Like our water bill is huge.
Yeah. And then Josh called the hospital and they said we could just come in for like some Panadine Forte and
because you're struggling to sleep.
Because I couldn't sleep. And so we did that. Then they sent us home. Yeah. And then
you had about a half-hour sleep, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And then again got back in the shower.
You were starting to get very tired and like sore then.
Yeah, it was a long time.
So how long did you labour for?
2 days.
2 days?
Total?
Yeah, about 2 days in total.
And then back in the shower, Josh's mum came over and bought a chair so I could sit on a chair in the shower.
Because we have timber chairs. She has a steel chair.
Yeah. And
what a wonderful woman.
Yeah. And she got there and I was sitting on the chair and I had a little blanket around me. And she was like, maybe you should think about going to the hospital now. And I was like, no, I don't need to go to the hospital. Yeah, I'm not ready. And then we went to the hospital expecting to get to some Panadine Forte and they'd send me home. And I was 8 centimeters dilated and they're like, you're not going anywhere.
They're like, Dad, strap in, go get your bags.
So then it all happened quite quickly.
It did. Yeah. So we got to the hospital around 6 p.m. 6:30, something like that. And obviously all the process happened, but it was about a 6-hour time frame from when we got there to when Barbara arrived.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that same midwife that told us to go home and love each other, it was great. Yeah, she was the same person who helped deliver Isla.
Oh, how lovely. Did you tell her that her advice was very useful?
I was a little preoccupied.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So I didn't, but she was beautiful. When Isla was born, she came in and sung happy birthday to her, and she was a really lovely support.
I'm sure we'll get to the actual delivery process, but she was instrumental in getting Em to like get Isla out, basically, like using, I don't know, breathing techniques and these kind of things, and she was just lovely.
Well, let's tell me when you got into hospital. Tell me, Em, how you were managing those sensations and what they felt like for you.
Yeah, so it started as a little bit of like back pain, like when you get your period and it's just a little bit uncomfortable. And then when I got into hospital, it was just like a pressure, I suppose. I got in the bathtub because I really wanted a water birth, and I thought that would help relax me because I really liked the water. Probably slowed me down a little bit. I think I got a bit hot.
Right.
And it was very steamy. So I was a bit exhausted
at that time. You and I both, you hadn't slept at all for 2 days, really.
Yeah.
I got maybe an hour or two, and we hadn't eaten much either. We hadn't, like, Em didn't really feel like eating.
Yeah.
I just wasn't thinking about it, and I fed you some chips. But Em looked like she was passing out in the bath. I was nearly passing out while sitting next to her. God, it was chaos. And I looked over at a certain time, and Em's like, her mouth was just above the water, and looked like she was trying to sleep. And I was like,
yeah, but I wouldn't say it was painful as such. Like I wouldn't describe it as painful. I think it's the most beautiful thing I've ever done in my life. Like I loved every moment of that. But there was a time in the bathtub where I was like, no, not doing this. I'm going home. I'm done.
So that is where it was on the course. There's a term for it.
The
transition.
That's it. And I remember she's like, I can't do this. I want to go home. And that made me panic a little bit because I don't like Em being in pain or sore or scared.
Yeah.
But then I immediately thought, I was like, transition. Tracy spoke about this. And I was talking, Em was in the bath, and I went out and spoke to the midwife because Em was like, give me the epidural.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me the epidural.
I did.
And
a bit late now, Dal.
She knew she wasn't getting it.
Yeah,
I did. I walked out and I spoke to the midwife, and she wants the epidural. And she was like, we'll think about getting it. We might get the doctor to come down.
And she's putting her head from side to side.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, she'll get it. Like, Em knew she wasn't getting it.
Yeah, I think
you knew you could do it.
That was just my turning point.
True.
And
as soon as you got out of that bar, it was game on.
Yeah,
you locked in. Like it was really impressive. Like obviously, I describe it as like Em wasn't really there. Like she was there, but she was so like hyper focused that like it was like, I don't know, it's hard to describe.
Yeah, there was nothing really happening around me. Like I heard Josh go out and talk to the midwives and say, oh no, we don't want to talk about the time, because there was a changeover of the midwives throughout the labor.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So I heard him talk about the epidural and the time and things like that.
Yeah.
But I was really present and focused on just me. Like it was unbelievably raw and beautiful. Like it was a hard slog of 2 days, but it was just so amazing.
Yeah.
Like I loved it.
Yeah, watching it was very impressive. Yeah. Obviously, birth is impressive no matter what, but just the strength that you had. Like,
yeah. And got out of the bath and my body just said, push.
Push, it's time.
Yeah.
Can I ask another question about your mind? Are you aware, Em, of what you were doing with your mind?
Sometimes, yeah. So at the beginning, I was really trying to relax. So I was listening to my music, and that was my trigger, because I made a playlist and I had my fairy lights, and I was really just trying to be like, breathe, calming. And then I was trying to picture when we did your course, we established like a happy place as such. So I pictured that place, and I tried to control my mind. Like it didn't always work. Sometimes I was just like focused on my body and its natural instinct and what would that was doing. But I proactively tried to like relax through the process, which I think really, really helped. I wasn't scared of the process. I was open to where I would go through it, I think.
So tell us about the pushing phase.
As soon as you got out of that bath.
Yeah.
You said you like, I remember you said it, you're like, I feel like I need to push.
Yeah.
And the midwife was like, go for go.
Yeah, I stood out of the bath and I started pushing standing. And one of the most comfortable places for me to push was in Josh's arms. So he held me up and supported me, and I squatted and tried to push the baby out.
All of her body weight.
Yeah.
Every single kilo. How long do you reckon I held you for?
A long time.
Yeah. I was talking like 30 plus minutes just holding him.
I think I was 90 kilos.
You were at 90 kilos.
So Josh is not a lightweight. I'm just looking at him now. He's quite a big bloke. So I'm sorry, but I don't feel sorry for you, Josh.
No, absolutely not. Honestly, I'm lucky that I trained, because if I didn't, I would have fallen over. I trained for that moment. That's what I trained for.
Yeah, no.
For you.
Started to push, and that was comfortable for me. I found it hard because, growing up, no one tells you really how to push a baby out of your vagina. And so my natural instinct was to be vocal through the pushing process. And then towards the end, I laid on the bed and I lifted my leg up to the side, which turns out that's how I was born.
You did a couple of times. You went bed, back to standing, and then back to bed. You were just you were quite tired.
Interesting.
So the standing was hard.
Yeah.
Was that guided by your midwife to do that?
No, that would have been me.
That was you.
So it was just where I was.
I feel like I need to lay.
Comfy.
Nice.
And trying to get into like the most comfortable position for me. And it was Grace that came in and was like, don't hate me for telling you this. And in my mind, I'm like,
I'm going to hate you.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to hate.
Grace is from the same country town Em's from.
Oh, wow.
And just, there's a couple of little connections, and she's a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
And I think Em responds well to toughness. Like she was gentle, but she was firm.
Yeah. She was like, I know you're not going to love me for saying this, but all of that energy you're vocalizing, use that and push that down inside you to get your baby girl out. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then I think 2 pushes and she came out.
Wow.
Because you were getting somewhere, but as soon as you did that, it was just, 2 pushes and she was there. Yeah.
Can you describe that more, Em, for the people listening on what that shift was? When you say I brought the sound in and down,
yeah,
describe that a bit more. Is that?
Yeah, I feel like it was my power as such, and I was really pushing it out through my mouth, and that was just my body's natural thing. Like you don't get taught how to push
because it's intense and you're releasing it. Yeah,
and it's different for everyone. But it was really like I just felt I took every ounce of me and everything that I had, including my sound, and I just pushed all of my energy down to get her out. Whereas I think when I was vocalizing, I was using a lot of my strengths like out through my mouth as opposed to using it to come down through me. And I felt like I was just channeling all my power down. Like I was very, very strong in that moment. And I just pushed it all down to get her out.
Wow. Josh, tell us what it was like to see that and when you met your baby.
Oh, best thing ever. Yeah. When we started the process, when Em was pregnant, I always thought to myself as I was going to be someone who I'm just going to start with Em up near, like give her help or talk to her, and then we did the course, and I think I was much more excited for the birth itself. But when it came to that time, and Em was on the bed on her side, then I had I had to hold her leg up. I don't know, I just locked in. I was excited, and like I was head in. I was all up in there watching every single thing, and I was just so excited. And like we got to the point, that moment where the last push where Em was vocalizing, and Isla's head came kind of half out, and then went back in. And that was when Grace told you to like, internalize, did it, and yeah, she came out. And I thought I'd be freaked out by that, but I was just so excited. And yeah, they got her, twisted her, pulled her out, and it was so amazing. And I think I was more excited. Like I was excited about the baby coming, but I was excited to see Em's reaction. Yeah, Em's reaction was one of my favorite things I've ever seen in my life. I think probably will forever. She like obviously there's relief. There's relief that it's somewhat over. But 9 months worth of hard work to pay off in that little moment. It was best moment of my life. Yeah, it was, and I think we were so like, even then we had so much love, like in that room. Like as soon as she came out, you and I were loving each other. We were loving the baby, like loving the midwives. No one could get away from it. There was love everywhere.
All midwives copped all our love.
They absolutely did. Yeah, best moment ever. Yeah, so worth it. And I think we wouldn't. I don't know if it would have been the same if we didn't do the course. Like
it definitely wouldn't.
No, and every single person that talk about getting pregnant, I'm like, let me know when. I'm going to send you someone.
I think you've described there Mother Nature's intention. She wants you to come out on a high after all that work and all that just, pregnancy and birth readiness and things, so that you can deal with the next sort of stage after that. Before we go on to that, Em, how was it for you when you met Isla? Tell us more about your experience.
Amazing. So I pushed her out and I felt her come out. Like I felt that sense of relief when she came out. And I was a little bit in shock, I suppose, because they lifted her and we didn't know that she was a girl at that stage. We had a suspicion, but I totally forgot to just check the gender. And then they're
like, what is it?
And there was so much love. It was unbelievable. I remember just pulling her up and putting her on my chest, and I just cried.
I got videos of everything. I made sure to video that.
And I just cried, and I knew that I was having a baby. I got that part down. But I think when I had her and I met her, it was just so much love and care, and I was so proud of everyone. I remember being like, her and I, like, and Hugh, we did this together, and we got out and we brought you into the world, and it's such a lovely place right now. And then they took her to do a couple of tests after I held her for a while. Josh cut the umbilical cord. And then everyone sang her happy birthday. So the doctors, the midwives, because I had a doctor stitching me at that time. And everyone sang her happy birthday. And I just remember feeling really blessed, really wholesome and lovely.
And that was a really fun moment, singing happy birthday. And Grace, who made everyone do it, she made everyone do it. Like the other people in the room.
I love Grace.
She was like singing, but that made it really special. And I think I don't know if that's everyone else's jam, but if people are gonna give birth, I think that's a really fun tradition.
Yeah, because like even after I gave birth, I heard all of the nurses and midwives out in the corridor yell, "Go Em, you've done it." And so it was really nice to have so much support around us in such a really vulnerable time for me. It was lovely.
It makes such a difference, doesn't it?
It really does.
And your transition into parenting, do you think the birth helped you with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way we viewed birth being beautiful and powerful and uplifting, and we have so much love in this little family unit, I think it's set that pathway of how we want to raise Isla and like how strong that I am and I know she is, and we have this little love bubble and we want to keep that as a little family. So I think it's really set the tone for our life as a like growing family. I think if rewind to me pre-course thinking I'm terrified of birth, I just want all of these drugs, and if I brought her into that space, I think it would be a really different experience for all of us. I think it's changed our mindset immensely.
A lot of love. A lot of love in the house.
And birthing with love rather than fear is a very powerful mantra, because it doesn't matter what unfolds on the day, because we can't always control everything, as we soon learn when you become parents. Is a wonderful mantra to anchor yourself to, even if you need help, even if your path changes and you end up having a cesarean or you need help to get the baby out. All of that mystery that you have to step into when you go into labour is anchoring yourself to the capacity to choose love and keep fear out of that room. Is going to then support your biochemistry to work with birth, not against it. So I really have loved listening to your story, and just the pair of you, how in it you both were. Josh, power to you. You cannot underestimate the power of a loving, focused presence, and it helps that you had big muscles as well to help hold them when you needed to. That was a bit of a bonus. But for her to be able to let go of all the things around her, knowing that you've got her back, then enabled her to stay in the zone of labour land and working with that labour, rather than being pulled out of it because somebody said something, or even though she could hear voices, it was obviously not distracting her at all, and she just felt all of that love and support. So those conditions, and throw in a few fairy lights, are a beautiful, and music, and music and things are beautiful conditions to create the best possible conditions for that mother being able to birth that baby. Not every birth is as straightforward as yours. It was a long birth. It was certainly, a bit of a marathon effort, but not everybody is blessed to have births and labours without complexity. And I always maintain, though, with certain principles of getting partners on board, doing the preparation of the mind, learning how to relax deeply, working with good breathing, not over breathing. That's something we're very focused on. And just getting your head in the game and being ready for that birth is, you're creating a trajectory that's going to hopefully promote and optimize the capacity for you to avoid complexity. But sometimes we need help. And so for those listening, even if you need help, you can still maintain a lot of what Josh and Em have shared with us today, for the most part. Although birth sometimes takes women on a really wild ride, but your ride is just sublime, and gives us a real insight into Mother Nature's blueprint of what she wants you to learn and to feel and to experience through the birth process, so that when the baby lands, you're ready for that next, even more important phase, which is getting to know your baby. Is there anything else either of you would like to say to our listeners today?
I don't know. Well, for partners, support people, just immerse yourself. I think, I don't know, like, I saw it as a job, not like a job that you don't want to do, but I took a lot of pride in like being the best support person I could be. If I could speak for him, if I could physically do stuff for him, I would have done it, but obviously I physically can't give birth. But I wanted to make that process as easy as I could, and I think the fact that I was all in on it probably helped.
Yeah, you did really good.
Yeah.
And I think for all of the mums to be, I guess congratulations for one, and just know how powerful you are. I think
it's crazy.
You don't realize how amazing and strong and powerful women are. And it's just getting emotional. It's just this motherhood. It's really beautiful.
Oh gosh, I got goosebumps. So yeah, it's why I never get bored doing this work. I've been doing it over 20 years, and I love watching women's transition. And even if it's been a hard birth or a difficult birth, tricky birth, complex birth, I've learned to respect that there's so much to be gained through the process of giving birth. And I think it's important that we don't diminish it by, focusing on the what happens, but rather the journey that you go through as you transform, both through the pregnancy and then during the birth process, and then, of course, beyond that. So for those listening, I think you've been treated to a beautiful example of Mother Nature's blueprint in full force, with a partner highly motivated and activated in that space, and holding that protective space around her can really help us to see what's possible. So I hope that's inspired you, and by all means, come and listen next week for another wonderful episode from the Transform Your Birth podcast. See you again. Bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe and share this podcast. This episode has been brought to you by Transform Parenting, an organisation that provides courses, coaching and community from pregnancy through to the first 7 years of a child's life. It is a place where you can learn, get support and grow into your role as a parent. Why not take advantage of a special gift for all pregnant women at transformyourbirth.com.au? Or if you have children, we have a gift for parents also.